I am calling the meeting, opening the meeting for the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals for Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. This meeting is in person and is also available streaming live. Those who want to participate remotely can do so through ma-southborough.civicplus.com or the masouthborough.com website. All right, so first item we have on the agenda is 120 Turnpike Road. Laura, can you read the notice, or is there a notice to read?
No, it's a continuance, but we do also have the planning board here, and maybe would like to call them to order.
Okay.
Thank you. The planning board is now in session. I'm joined by Ms. DeMaria and Ms. Houlihan, and Ms. Braccio is joining us via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, where we have 120 Turnpike, the comprehensive permit and the special permit on the agenda first. Who do we have representing the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members, Town Council. I'm Brian Charvel, the Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel for Ferris Development Group, representing the applicant. I'm joined by my colleague, George Bonan, and our Special Counsel, Attorney Lou Levine, and also the applicant's principal, Mr. David Ferris.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you wanted to present or discuss first, Mr. Charvel?
Yes, if you don't mind, we have a few substantive updates we'd love to share with the board and the public.
Certainly.
Great. So since we last met in June, we're pleased to report that we have made great progress toward the engineering and other matters related to the idea of moving the 40B building onto the existing office building parking lot, rather than the previously proposed site on the hillside. So if everything comes together, we still would like for it to be approved in the office building parking lot. At great expense to the applicant, we're now able to share that the building may be reduced from 6 proposed floors down to 5. Now, what that took was a change in the building's footprint. So now it will be 80 by 216 feet. Took a new architectural design because of the changed floor plans, completely revised engineering. So the engineering that had been done for the site on the hill had to be set aside and scrapped. More time from the other attorneys and I. But we're now able to say that it can be done. And as of Monday, the applicant was able to submit for your board's consideration and peer review a full set of the site plan showing the 5-story building in that location. In addition to that, since the last meeting, we had a very good meeting between the applicant's traffic engineer and the town's peer review transportation engineer. And that resulted in revisions by the applicant's engineer, and he has prepared a letter that we'll be submitting tomorrow for Mr. Dirk's review. So if staff would look out for that, we'll have that going. So we're really pleased, though, about the new location working, it seems like. Sorry, Mr. Chair, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I understood that last part correctly. Could you just tell me again what you said regarding the traffic plans and who you met with regarding them?
Yes, there was a Zoom meeting between Attorney Bonan, the applicant's traffic engineer, and also Jeff Dirk, the board's engineer. And Mr. Dirk was able to elaborate on his concerns, what he expressed, I think, to the board by letter, and also extensively at the last meeting. And that enabled the applicant's engineer to go back, do additional calculations as requested. And he's now prepared a letter we'll be able to send in tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
That'll close out Mr. Dirk's concerns.
Excellent, good to hear that. Go ahead.
Those are the highlights.
Okay.
Yep. You know, parking ratio, we're still able to provide 1.7 spaces per unit. The board will notice, looking at the site plans, that there will be 102 parking spaces total to serve the 40B. Almost all that surface area will be covered with permeable pavers so that there will be water intrusion. back into the ground rather than the current impervious pavement that is there now. Depending on the feedback we get tonight, if it still seems like it's tracking well, we hope to provide the Conservation Commission, who has an NOI pending before them, with an update about this new location. There still needs to be revised stormwater calculations done, and then we'll submit it to that board so that they're able to conclude their NOI hearing.
Okay.
Progress there too.
And you said you would have plans available for peer review beginning on Monday, is that correct?
It was this Monday, we were able to send in a
Oh,
full
okay.
set of the civil and other engineering.
Yep.
Traffic will be mailed or emailed in tomorrow to staff. And it would only be conservation and storm water related filings to follow for conservation.
Okay. Okay.
I know
So
one
you're-
thing we want to be sure to talk about is a balloon test. And so if you permit me to jump ahead a little bit,
Sure.
we're envisioning dates toward the end of next week, if it would work, is the thought. We'd like to do it in the morning and get the test set up. We will depict the 50 feet height using a weather balloon in the location of what would be a western corner of the building. So on the most outward side of the building, if you will. And we'd set the test up to run from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the day of the test. So our proposal would be that everybody have notice it's going to happen on Friday, August 9th. Excuse me, Thursday, August 8th. We want to aim for that Thursday, with the next day, the morning of the 9th, being a rain date. So we just, if it works for everybody, agree that it'll be morning of Thursday, the 8th. If rain or other inclement weather had happened instead on Friday, the 9th in the morning. And if that's rainy as well, it'll be on Monday, the 12th instead.
Brian, it could be a wind day too.
Yeah, right. We want it to be not rainy, but also not gusting. So that everybody's
yeah.
able to see a representative front corner of the building.
Okay.
That's what we're thinking. And if it works, Mr. Chair, what we do is, again, leave here tonight saying it's going to be the morning of the 8th, depending on weather. And if that doesn't work, we'll write you and staff and say we're going to postpone to, Friday the 9th or Monday the 12th
Okay.
is the thought.
So just very quickly, Doris, you're there, right? Will that day work for you?
I'm gonna think that date's gonna work for me. I didn't want to pull out my calendar until I got the go, but let me check. I'm gonna say it's gonna work because it's a Thursday and it's the morning, you said?
Yes, please. 9 to 12, we'll fly the balloon.
Yeah, the 3-hour window certainly helps.
Yeah, it's just gonna work for me. It's actually a good day.
Okay. Doug?
And so
Doug?
is the 9th.
Okay.
We have
good.
wind or gust. Okay.
Yeah, both mornings work for me.
Okay, I'm just gonna, Laura, we'll get notice on that. Okay, also great.
Jamie?
Yeah, I just looked, I can move things around, make it work for Thursday and Fridays, no problem.
Balloon
So
120.
administrative question for Jay. To do this, we don't have the same notice kind of issues, correct?
Right. Site visits do not require any posting. They're an exception to the open meeting law.
Right. I'm gonna say it would be logical to assume that those who are interested in this hearing would be in attendance tonight and be aware of that. That's the same that we are right now. And Paul has indicated to me via text message that it would work for him as well.
Great. And our intent is that if there's anybody beyond the board that would be interested in seeing the conditions, anybody can turn off the road onto 118, 120 Turnpike Road and come to the back parking lot and should be able to see the balloon flying.
Okay.
So we'll plan on that. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Plan on that schedule. And I should mention, I didn't see Mr. Paul Carter here tonight before I came up to the table, but I want to highlight for the board that included in the site plan set that was submitted on Monday are sheets that depict and meet the requirements of the town's subdivision rules and regulations for a preliminary subdivision plan. I know that's something that's long been discussed, and so those sheets are within what was filed. And in addition to that, you'll remember from the prior proposed site, there was a plan and profile showing the side view, if you will, the profile of the proposed access and utilities runs. And there's a profile sheet now in Monday's plan set regarding the currently proposed location. So look out for that as you read it.
So again, just to repeat, I know that that's something that you're right, Mr. Carr talked about a few different times. You're saying you have subdivision plans that are part of the package?
Yes, those sheets are in there, a preliminary plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Mr. Charvel?
Thank you. I think those were the highlights.
Okay. It does feel, at least to me for now, we're a little bit where we were at the last meeting, just in terms of what we can do. I understand, of course, you do have plans, more concrete plans submitted versus what you had proposed before. And I think we all appreciate that. But obviously, in terms of the peer review, we're not really able to get a lot going. I am encouraged about what you said regarding the traffic engineer, because I did have some concerns. And I know the traffic engineer for the town had concerns that things weren't getting addressed, but I'm going to take what you're saying at your word that that was a productive meeting and that things are moving in the right direction there. So
Yes, sir.
I'm taking all of it as being very encouraging.
And our intent with what was filed on Monday in terms of the civil drawings and the whole site plan set, including the preliminary subdivision plan, is that that is ready for the town's civil peer reviewers to begin, dissecting.
In the one that you have already submitted.
Yes, what came in on Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
So our thought would be all that remains really is, again, additional conservation related drawings and calculations that relate to the notice of intent before the Conservation Commission.
Okay, very good. All right, I'm not sure how, Paul's telling me he might not have a good connection for very long, so I don't know if he has any questions right now. But I was going to start with him. All right, no questions right now. Doris, do you have any questions regarding the updated plans and anything that Mr. Charvel has shared tonight?
Just on the second issue, I thought I'd read in the earlier email this week that we're working on the access road. You didn't mention the shared access road. Could you talk about that just a moment?
Happy
Thank you.
to. There's just one update in that regard, which is you'll remember from when we first filed for the comprehensive permit, we also filed at town council's suggestion to modify the 2005 special permit, simply to say that the driveway that's there now serving the office buildings may be shared and also serve the 40B. So that relief has been requested in front of this board since last November. But we had the thought to make sure that another course through which the board could grant the relief is through the comprehensive permit itself. And so with what we shared this Monday, it's just a request to make clear that the scope of the comprehensive permit would include shared driveway access as well. That's it. Still same access, same location, same sharing. It's just a second permitting path to allowing it.
Okay, that's my question. I don't have any other questions. Most of what David said, I just appreciate moving forward. I still have reservations about the height of the building.
Doug?
Just a couple of quick questions. Oh,
Yeah.
So first, just the plans, limit of clearing is not really clearly denoted. It'd be helpful to have clarity in that. I mean, I see where the new improvements are going, but understanding how far the contractor is going beyond those improvements for their clearing.
Understood.
That'd be helpful just to know, particularly as it obviously still gets very close to Breakneck Hill. But I mean, I can kind of guess a buffer around it, but that would just be helpful to know.
We'll have that added.
Second item was more just in the landscape plan. There's obviously a lot of landscaping between the dog park and the apartment building, the residential building. There's very little behind the playground towards the Breakneck Hill Reservation too. So I would just ask you guys to, I mean, again, if you're clearing in that area, there's going to be a bunch of mature trees, but the understory is going to be pretty wide open. So you guys might want to look at landscaping in that area too as well. And then appreciate you including the subdivision plans, but I still don't think we've seen a list of written waivers that you're asking for from the again, so this board is supposed to grant waivers, and I don't think we have a comprehensive list of the waivers on the subdivision.
We may not need waivers. I think it's going to be a result of,
Oh, you're going to need waivers.
Yeah.
well, again, we may not need as many waivers. And it's been my experience in many 40Bs that kind of towards the mid or end point of the process, we identify what waivers we need. And
Right. I
then,
think the board is asking for them as they've done before, and I agree with you that it's fluid, but it is a requirement that you present a list of those up front, along with, I think, local wetland waivers too, which we asked for originally as
with
well.
respect to the latter, I agree with you.
Yeah.
With respect to the wetland.
It shouldn't be hard. Your engineer should be able to
I know,
produce
but-
a subdivision waiver list pretty easily.
But I think as Jay said, it's invariably a fluid position because, we may not think we need a waiver. Peer review thinks we need one.
Well,
We-
that's why let's start with a list and we'll go from there.
Yeah, just make it, because again, before it was like a blanket statement of we're asking for waivers from the subdivision law without any detail, and very hard for us to interpret
No,
that.
I agree with that.
Yep.
We will give you, and I take back what I said, we'll give you a
Yep.
preliminary list with, as Jay said, it's always, I've never gone through a 40B where we don't add waivers because it's a dispute between whether we need a waiver and don't. And if the board is willing to grant the permit or even not willing, we might as well ask for the waiver.
Yeah, no, this would just helps with clarity for us to evaluate. That's all.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Apologize.
That's all the questions I have for now.
Thank you. Jamie?
I just have one question. It's not really a question. I just want confirmation, I guess, that we're still going, if we were to approve this eventually, we would still be getting the land swap for, I think it's like the 6 acres or whatever it was.
Yes, the plan set that was submitted Monday clarifies the lot lines beyond the June meeting, but it still shows lot 4A, which would be the remaining office buildings parcel, 4B, which would be the comprehensive permit parcel, and then 4C, which if everything comes together would be the donated land for conservation purposes.
Okay. That's all I had.
If I could add one other quick item.
Sure.
Now that the building is 5 stories, and I appreciate the building height coming down, but you guys will provide updated elevations of the building?
Yes.
And again, I think I had some comments on some of the side views and elevations from the previous design when it was up. So just, again, it'd be great to see the updated elevations too when you guys get a chance.
Admittedly, I read it quickly, but I think it's worth noting that the fire department submitted a comment letter today
Yep.
about this project. I assume it was, I don't think it referenced the plan set, but I assume it was in response to having received Monday's set, which had been circulated. And I don't believe that building height was a concern raised in that comment letter.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I looked at the, what was submitted and it kind of looked to me more like it was like reiterating what the details were. In other words, I didn't see where they're saying, well, we looked at this and we have a problem with, the driveway or the height. Unless, I don't know if I'm reading it incorrectly, but that's what I got out of it. Laura, remind me, was it this project that the chief of police wanted to make address the board or address the hearing?
Yeah, he had emailed asking if he could provide some feedback, just as it relates to the dog park. I don't have that feedback, but I also don't, I mean, if somebody is here, to represent that, please raise your hand on Zoom. But otherwise, I don't see anybody in attendance for that.
Okay. All right, before we go any further, I'm just gonna ask if the planning board has any comments or they had questions for the applicant.
We don't at this time, as we just got the plans yesterday, so we haven't really had a chance to review them. But we will for
Okay.
the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, I don't know if anybody from the public has questions that they want to raise here.
Hi, I'm Freddie Gillespie, Chair of the Open Space Preservation Commission. And I had a couple of questions. We just got the plans, so we can't review them till Friday, but based on the last plans, we had concerns about the location of the new arrangement of the 6.2 acres being so close up against the property line of Breakneck Hill, which keeps some of the same concerns we had when the project was on the hillside. And we're appreciative of the moving it off the hill into the parking lot. We voiced that support at a planning board meeting, and we're under the impression that there would be a site plan modification to go over the location of the park, the location of the building, and we don't understand how you needed a site plan modification. It wasn't resolved. It was withdrawn without prejudice, I believe. And now you've got all these changes, and now all of a sudden, poof, like magic, you don't need a site plan modification. So there's an existing site plan for the layout of that land that we believe is critically important. And we would be happy to weigh in on a new location, but one that wasn't, going to have the same concerns, because when you're on the conservation land, you're going to have, when you have trees, it's not one tree or two trees. It's a group of trees that give you the buffer, the site view, right? Having just one tree left. And that's going to be the dog park and playground. My understanding is really a septic system recharge area and can't have plantings on it. You're not going to have trees. So when you're on the conservation land, instead of seeing woods that you look at now, and the plan for the original 6 acres would be continuing to see woods, now you're going to have a clear shot at a 5-story building or the office building or Route 9 and all of that light trespass, which has a serious environmental conservation value, negative impact, and a negative impact to people who are walking the trails in this beautiful setting that now are going to feel like they're, abutting Route 9, which is not, that's a huge negative impact for people, and it's also going to be a negative impact for wildlife and animals. And so we wanted, at one time after that modification, I thought we had been told in the hallway that there was a possibility of relocating that lot. And I just don't understand first where the site plan modification just disappeared to. First, it was required and now it's not. And secondly, whether there's a requirement or not, can we have a conversation about moving that to another area that makes a little bit, just moving it back a little bit, leaving more of a buffer between what's being
I'm
cleared.
sorry, what area are you talking about?
So the 6.2 acres used to be a cohesive parcel of land, and now it's more of a ring around. Most of it, includes a lot of wetlands. There might be some other encroachments that aren't really allowed in the land. I'm not, like I said, I just got the plans, haven't had our commission talk about those. So I'm going on the prior ones we looked at. There may be some infrastructure in the new open space parcel that wouldn't be allowed, and I could be wrong there. But also the location of the 6.2 acres now is cut out this dog park playground, which is the septic system, and it's up against the property line of Breakneck Hill, which means somebody asked for a clearing line. Well, if you see where the property line is and where the edge of that is, you know they're going to clear it because it's a septic, right? So they can't leave enough
Well,
trees.
I can't
Why aren't
help.
we getting more of it?
Are we getting a little bit ahead of ourselves if we're all saying we haven't really seen all the plans and Doug did ask to understand where the clearing is? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it feels like we might be a little ahead of ourselves.
Well, okay, I'll back up. We expected before we got here at the ZBA that there would be a site plan modification required for the significant change in the existing recorded legally enforceable site plan with the open space parcel delineated. That is a big change of what was originally on the site plans today that are required. So now you're changing that without a site plan modification. I think it's a fair question.
Well, but in all fairness, I mean, this is what we're having a hearing about, isn't it? And we agreed we've got updated plans. And, we need to take a closer look at it. We need to get peer review initiated.
But you're not the planning board.
No, I'm not the planning board.
So that was my point.
correct.
Legally, we were told that they had to go in front of the
But,
planning board.
Am I correct, though, that the planning board said they had no questions and they're in session?
David, maybe I can clear up it's Jay.
Jay, you wanna help
Yeah,
out a
let
little
me,
bit?
I think we're conflating a number of issues here that are kind of interconnected. So I just want to clear up some of them. I think we've all been clear that at some point, and the applicant can choose when, they're going to have to amend the underlying site plan approval from that was issued by the planning board. They can choose that. The process that they went through more recently, seeking an amendment of that and then withdrawing it, was for a different purpose. It might have folded that in, but what they were trying to do there was to get some relief or some modification from the requirements regarding the 6.2 acres. Those are different things fundamentally. As to the 6.2 acres, there is a hard and fast requirement baked into the planning board decisions and referenced in the underlying zoning board decision and in a conservation commission decision to convey 6.2 acres. We've already spoken about that. I've spoken actually to representatives of the planning board about that. This board still has the opportunity, as you've suggested, to speak about that kind of configuration because you are being asked now to carve that parcel out. They presented a plan that shows where their 6.2 acres is that they want you to subdivide off. As Mr. Levine has already suggested that things are fluid in this process, my guess is that discussion is fluid as well. They know they have an obligation regarding the 6.2 acres, reserving their rights to disagree on that, I suppose. But it is on the plans now. I'm sure there's going to be discussion amongst everyone as to how that could be best configured to serve the interests of everyone. I know the planning board has opinions on it. I've already spoken to a few folks about ways to characterize this and maybe work with it so that everyone can meet their goals on that. That's still, as you've suggested, a story that's still to be told in this process here. I just want to make sure that there's different processes. I don't think the applicant is running away from the requirement to go through the site plan modification. Site plan is a very different process than special permit or 40B. That's out there in front of them. So that's still going to happen.
So can I,
Look, thank you, Jay. Yeah,
May I
that's
finish
that's
up?
kind of what I'm getting at. I don't think your concerns are invalid, Freddie. I'm just saying, I think they're all gonna come out, and I think we'd like to have an opportunity to digest it a little bit more. We know the applicant has taken some time and effort to change it, based on feedback they received from not only the board, but from the public. But yeah, go ahead.
so first I'd like to say that in all of this, the Open Space Preservation Commission has been supportive of this new change. And we look forward to working collaboratively and cooperatively with Mr. Ferris and his team to come up with a solution. Why I bring it up now is we participated in the site plan modification process. No one told us that it wasn't happening anymore. So I'm just, we thought from what happened at the withdrawal was that the next phase was, come back with this new plan and the modification, as you had been on that path, was going to happen. I'm hearing now for the first time it's not. That's why I maybe jumped the gun, because this process has not been clearly laid out to all of the people and the residents who attended that meeting. In fact, I had some indication that there wouldn't even be a discussion tonight because of how newly received the plans were. So I think a lot of people, whether right or wrong, thought that this would be a continuation, not a discussion. So I thought I'd raise it now before
Okay,
that opportunity would be lost. So thank you.
okay. Yeah, there is, you're not wrong. Again, I kind of viewed it as it is more of a continuation, out of respect to the applicant, giving them the opportunity to, present and for the board and other people to ask questions. But you're correct, it is largely a continuation. Okay. Do we have somebody else waiting to speak?
Yes, Bonnie Faniff, 179 Middle Road. How many units are we talking about?
60,
And how many will be ADA compliant
15.
throughout the building?
She's saying ADA compliant. Oh, ADA, I'm sorry. I was thinking of
Handicap.
affordable. We do not know yet because we're awaiting updated plans from the architects.
I hope that you include several.
We'll let them
Um,
know.
And the reason I ask that question is I'm happy to see that there's compromise happening here. Life changes on a dime. At one time, I was able to walk to the top of Breakneck Hill and enjoy the view like all of us. And then things change, and lucky for me, I know, I'm sorry, I lose my voice. I'm able to drive still and drive to that location. Actually, I was over there this evening at 118, taking photographs of the reservoir, the island, the birds. Let's not lose sight of what else is at that site that others can enjoy. And that's the pavement, the ability to get to Starbucks if you're in a wheelchair or you need assistance. You can get to Walgreens. I wrote this, the whole list to the Board of Selectmen about 3.5 months ago, and they said it really was appropriate to be said here. Please do not lose sight of the fact that that location has something to offer to some of us that can no longer drive or may need assistance on a flat surface that can also enjoy part of this community that we've paid for. So I really hope you consider that. And I'm not speaking as a member of the ADA committee. I'm off that committee now. I'm not speaking on behalf of any committee. I'm speaking on behalf of myself at one time when I could not walk. And now I'm facing another issue that someone in my own household is unable to get around. So I hope you consider that when you're making your decision.
Okay, thank you. Laura, has anybody raised their hand, or do we have anybody else who needs to ask a question?
We have nobody in person and I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. Mr. Tarver, what do you have any suggestion as to time needed for the next hearing? I suppose that's more on us and getting peer review done, correct?
Yes, sir. Tentatively, I was thinking ahead toward the date we already have on the books for 250 Turnpike's continued hearing, which is Wednesday, August 21st. And that one, without getting into the substance, is headed toward that completed site plan being fleshed out in the next couple weeks. So it probably will not be ready for substantive discussion that night, but this one might be. And so I was thinking, if it pleases the board, since we already have that date on the books, that 120 Turnpike be heard August 21st.
Okay, I'm just gonna check with the board members now. Doris, any concerns with that date?
That works for me fine.
Okay. Doug?
21st of August.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. I'll be virtual, but I can make it work.
Thank you.
Paul's saying no. Jamie?
I'm available.
No, Paul, this is, sorry. Oh, okay, no concerns, okay. Modern technology, okay. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, the 21st should be okay for me as well. So, and, having said that, I mean, I do have every intention of trying to, get peer review moving so that we do have something substantive to talk about at that hearing. Jay, any concerns you could think of in meeting
No,
then?
I think this is all about, next couple sessions are going to be all about peer review and reports and questions from the board on that. We are going to need an extension. I think we run out in September from where we are now. So I think realistically, we're going to need something beyond that. We won't be done with peer review and then the discussion.
Could you suggest a date?
I don't know what their meeting schedule is, but I think we're looking at, October or November for sure would be my
Would,
guess.
the end of October suffice for the moment?
I mean, for the moment, sure. That gives us at least 2 to 3 more substantive meetings. And if we need more time, we'll ask for it.
Somebody have a calendar as what the latter part of October would be?
I know that the board's scheduled meeting date in October, I think is October 16th.
But I think I would agree with Jay that you have to go through the review. And then when you get through that, then you have to begin to draft a decision one way or another. And so if it's 2 or 3 review sessions, that's going to carry until the end of September or even early October before you even get to draft a decision.
I would say so. I think if we post it at the end of October, I think that gives us an opportunity, because we may choose, if we're going to get into more weighty meetings here too. The board may choose to do a special session just because it could take a couple of hours to hammer out things, and they may have another schedule. So
The board, has to close the hearing, has 40 days to render a decision.
unless you want to discuss a
But
decision
once they
within,
close it, you can't discuss it.
correct.
All right,
Well,
so
you-
it's the applicant's benefit to not close the hearing and give them the 40 days. Okay.
We can cross that bridge when we come to it,
No,
though.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
and I'm not, so can we pick a date in the latter part of October?
I think, Mr. Chair, if it's all right, if we could take just a minute or two and speak with the applicant in the hall, and that we could let you know if there's an extension date, if any, that's acceptable.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
I was going to suggest October 30th is the last Wednesday of the month, but Laura, I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yep,
Okay, thank you very much for the moment.
Thank you for the time. From the
Sure.
applicant's perspective, we're sitting here tonight on July 31st, making good progress on the applicant's side. The peer review is underway and they're going to dive into that. We've got a date 3 weeks out where we hope to have peer review substantive feedback coming in. So we'd like to get to that meeting before we talk about an extension beyond September 18th for action.
so you want to extend to October 18th for now, and then pending what happens on the 21st?
No, we'd like to keep September 18th for now and not extend that yet. We'll see where we are on August 21st.
Okay. Jay, your opinion?
I don't have a particularly strong opinion of that. I think it's, not particularly great faith to do that, but we can't compel you to extend. But if there is a lack of, if you don't extend by the next time or by September 18th, and there's a lack of information or cooperation, that certainly is going to factor in. I do find that it shows a little bit of lack of good faith because it's clear that it's going to go beyond September. I've just done a million of these projects and it's going to. So I hate having that kind of sword hanging over the head of the board. But we can't compel you.
Would you consider something later?
I don't have authority and I don't think I'm going to get it tonight to go beyond September 18th.
All right, I'm gonna say that, I'm taking Jay, with the experience that he has. I would say we stick to that, to the 18th, but I agree with him that it's highly unlikely we're gonna be able to have it done by then. I guess I would expect that, we would expect similar faith from the applicant if we know for certain at that August 21st meeting that we're going to need to go beyond September 18th, that we get that cooperation, because I think Jay's right. It's not great having that hanging over our heads. I'm sure we're going to be as diligent as we can be. But, people have other schedules too. You could have business travel. There might have been a vacation planned. So the 18th does make it a little bit tight, considering we're just really getting peer review going now.
Understood.
Just briefly, any board member want to speak up on that date?
I understand the importance, but I don't feel like I have a sword over my head.
Yeah.
That's a little severe for me to think
Okay.
that way. But I think it's going to extend, but I don't feel the sword. I don't feel like I'm going to get decapitated.
Okay, Doug or Jamie?
No, the other comment I would say is it'd be great that you guys can get the list of waivers to us before the meeting. The other thing, given the comments we heard today from the Open Space Committee, I know septic fields like to be in rectangles, right? But if you guys could actually look at, there's areas that are below the sand filter and to the left of the playground, so that we can, because again, we do have a diagonal line that is cutting hard against the site. And you guys are right up against it, right? And so, many of us have been on this path, right? If there was the ability to keep more of a swath that was consistent all the way along it, would be better. But I'm just saying, if you guys want to move fast, and I think we're happy to move fast, but then again, I think just it would behoove you guys to look at the comments you're hearing tonight to see if we can move quicker, if you want to try to keep on that timetable. So, and again, I don't know how the engineering works, but it's really tight in one area, but you might have some relief in another area that gives a better buffer for the whole path, because there is a walking path literally right up against your property line. So just, I would mention that. But again, let's see where we are in the next meeting.
Okay, Jamie?
Yeah, I don't have a problem waiting till the August meeting to decide if we need to continue or we'll need to extend.
Okay. All right.
Can I just ask this a different way what sword, I'm serious because that's a severe, what sword would happen if they didn't extend and now we're on the 18th? How does that make me feel as if I
think-
could have a sword?
Yeah,
What is
No,
that
I
problem?
mean,
I think Jay can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously speaking metaphorically.
Right.
I've been involved in a lot of situations, given the board, any zoning board's precarious position under Chapter 40B, where there's a certain amount of pressure to approve because the standard of review is generally applicant friendly. I've been involved in more situations than I care to count where a board wishes they had a little bit more information at the end and wishes they had a little more time to deliberate, and an applicant refused to give them that time. And I think the board has expressed a lot of good faith here and willing to discuss and negotiate with the applicant. And I think it'd be, my general experience is that that's a two-way street. I think that it is highly unlikely you'll be ready to get down to condition and decision-making by the 18th. But again, we're not simple-minded folks, and I'm sure we can figure this out in August.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
David, sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Laura.
If I may, just on the topic of peer review and for the purpose of expediting, I did send the revised plan set to all of our peer reviewers. I gave Lucas Environmental the go-ahead because you guys delivered the check, so they'll start on that. As far as civil site and stormwater, I heard from our peer reviewer that they would like to see, in order to proceed with their full review, they would also like the revised drainage and stormwater calculations that you will be preparing for conservation, in addition to that revised waiver list that we have already discussed. So as soon as they have all of that information, they should be approximately 1.5 weeks out from completing their initial review, just so that you have that as a timeline. Also, just something that I have on my list of outstanding items, there was discussion previously about a variance for parking. Is that something that we can also expect?
Yes, we expect to file that in the next week.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Okay, all right, having said all that, I think that's all we can really do tonight. We can't close the meeting. I think we've had enough discussion here. We're agreed to meet again on the 21st. So I think, unless I'm missing something substantial, I think that's it for you on this hearing.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, you guys need to vote on the continuance.
Oh, to continue the hearing?
Yes,
Oh, you're right, sorry.
it needs to be a roll call.
Yeah, okay. All right, we need a motion to continue the hearing to August 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry.
Do we need it to be later?
Yeah, so we have 250 Turnpike scheduled for 7:15. I have a request for a discussion item for 7 o'clock. So if we could do sometime after 7:15.
All right, let's make it 7:30.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
I make a motion to continue this hearing to August 21st at 7:30.
Second.
all right, motion to continue to August 21st at 7:30 has been made and seconded. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doris?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Paul? This is gonna be a virtual aye. Williams, aye. Paul says yes. Okay, thank you for the reminder, Laura.
Thanks very much. Appreciate the time.
All right, so I would like to, knowing that we have 0 Turnpike Road on the agenda, I would like to take care of the business of approving the meeting minutes from July 17th, 2024. Laura put those up on the website. I took a look through them. I did not have a problem with them, but I'm willing to listen to any board members who have any concerns.
No
That
concerns on
was
my end.
the hearing on a home adult daycare. Sorry, Doug.
No, I just saying, no concerns on my end.
Okay, Doris?
No, I read through them. I didn't have any concerns.
Nothing here.
Okay, Paul texted that they're wonderful and he makes a motion to approve. So for Paul, well, I'm not gonna say for Paul, that's not really right, but I move that we approve the minutes from the July 17th, 2024 meeting as written.
Second.
All right, motion to approve the minutes as written has been made and seconded. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doris?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Paul confirms it's aye, so, and Williams aye. Right. Did you want to just talk about upcoming meetings very briefly, Laura, because for the next hearing, I know Paul and Jamie are going to drop off.
Yeah, so we don't have much coming up in terms of number of dates, but it's just August 21st is our next hearing, and that'll be 250 Turnpike and now 120 Turnpike. I don't have any regular applications, just a request to extend a special permit that was issued in 2022. So that'll be on the 21st as well. If you guys are okay with hearing that, then it's just a discussion item. Yeah, okay.
Good with me.
And then possibly a couple of applications for the September 18th meeting, but nothing filed as of yet. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Laura. All right, then. We can then get to the last item on the agenda for this evening. And I know Paul will sign off and Jamie will exit as they have recused themselves from this hearing. So I believe the applicant's dialing in as well this evening. Laura, am I correct?
Yes, I have him on Zoom and I will move him right over.
So before he starts, Jay, just procedurally, this means since Mike didn't dial in, we have 3 board members, which I think we're allowed to do administrative sort of business without a concern. It'd be good for you to just chime in briefly if you could.
Right. Two things there. One, if there were substantive discussion or substantive deliberation, and this was the only meeting that Mike misses, then he could certify that he's watched the tape after the fact and then still participate following that. If there's no substantive discussion and this just becomes a scheduling hearing, then I wouldn't even consider this to be a missed hearing, so to speak. And certainly 3 members is sufficient to get administrative or even, because it's a 40B, substantive work done because you only need a simple majority.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to make sure we address that right away. Just make sure there's no concerns. Okay. All right, I see Jason's on, so I'm ready for him to go ahead.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jason Panos, for the record, practicing law at 246 Andover Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of the residences at Park Central LLC, the applicant in the instant matter before you. First, I'd like to thank you for accommodating schedules and briefly pushing this matter back through July. I've been conflicted and I really appreciate your accommodations in that regard. On July 29th, I provided the board with written correspondence, basically giving you a status update on the litigation matter. And I appended the case docket, which had the latest entry dating back from earlier this month, July 3rd, I believe, in which the judge issued orders related to a discovery dispute among the parties that was heard back in June 27th. And I'm not going to necessarily go into the detail of that unless you want me to, but it's pretty clear what's been going on. I provided you with the case docket and I gave you a little bit of a summary. I think the most important thing I took from it, at least from a substantive point of view regarding the litigation, is that the court doesn't see these issues of applicability of the 2015 agreement, and certainly the alleged detriment to certain defendants as open and shut questions. They're very much open issues subject to litigation. From a scheduling standpoint, what happened at that June hearing was that the discovery deadline got pushed out to October 18th. And if you read the docket a little further, from a scheduling point of view, so there are a couple of things. Let me back up. There's discovery due by August 16th, where certain defendants have to provide to the plaintiffs, being the applicant here, certain discovery interrogatories alleging the basis of the detriment of this current project that's before you, as it relates to that 2015 agreement. So that's coming up fast and furious. We'll get a bit of an idea, because even from our perspective, as we've gone through, and I'm not involved in this, so as litigation counsel has gone through depositions, and has tried to call out alleged harms related to this project, we certainly have no definitive pathway. We really don't understand as we sit today what the harm of this proposed development is as it relates to that 2015 agreement. That is unclear to us today. Hopefully we'll glean more on August 16th. Why is that important? Because as you fast forward, discovery deadline, as I indicated, depositions and so forth must conclude by August 18th. And then all parties must report to the court by August 25th, confirming that discovery is complete, and also advising the court as to whether or not either party intends to file any dispositive motions. What does that mean? A summary judgment motion. We have enough facts to determine the matter as a matter of law. We're going to, each party may move for summary judgment. Who knows? The court expects us to reveal all of that by the end of October. And then there's going to be a November 8th status conference which is scheduled among the parties, where all of these things are going to be discussed. So that leads me to my request. I certainly don't see the litigation matter as things stand today, and I could be wrong. Things could change. I'm not suggesting what our position on this is, but I certainly don't see any movement on this until discovery is complete. So that takes us out until mid-October, end of October. And then we have decisions to make, provided the matter hasn't settled by that point, whether dispositive motion is going to be filed, whether we litigate, on and on and on. So what I've requested, typically we've been pushing these off in 3-month increments. I've asked in this case to for the board to consider pushing this off to December 4th, which is 4 months, basically, give or take. That would result in an extension of the 188-day period to close the hearing on April 16th of next year. I can't believe we're talking about that. 2025 now, but that's basically the impact of the schedule. So I just think realistically the extra time is warranted only because of this discovery deadline being pushed out. And as I indicated, I don't see any movement on this before discovery finishes. So I give it back to you, Mr. Chair, and am happy to answer any questions you have. And the board has.
Yeah, I guess on the one hand, my thought is not to get too deep into anything this evening, just simply because we only have 3 members here.
Sure.
I have one basic question though. We did talk at one point about you just simply meeting with the abutters of the litigants and trying to, come up with a plan that basically they could agree to, and we wouldn't be tied to this litigation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite sure that Mike Robbins and Doug and probably Doris as well share the frustration that, we feel like, the order isn't right here. So without getting into a long drawn out debate, I mean, could you just comment on that? Because I maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I thought that was part of the plan.
And it may shock you to learn that I'm frustrated. I'd like to get a project going. So you know, this is a bit of a diversion for me as well. I know that early on that there were some very preliminary discussions going on. They obviously didn't lead anywhere because we're still talking about this. I know that this discovery dispute, if I'm going to, and I don't want to overly characterize this, but the discovery dispute certainly has made people dig in a little bit, if I'm gonna suggest that. And that's why I'm suggesting that until at least the depositions, well, we've got two critical periods coming up. We've got that August 16th period where the court literally had to compel the certain defendants to tell the court and to tell us why it is they think they're going to be harmed by this project. They to date, they haven't really done that. The depositions, as I understand them, have been all over the place. Some say it isn't detrimental, some say it is, some say it's a different project, some say it is, you know, it's been all over the place. What I'm suggesting is, I really think that before, it's my impression that before we get to that stage of really substantive and meaningful discussion, that this discovery business is going to have to conclude.
Okay,
That's just my impression.
all right. I'm not trying to, you know, relitigate or go into detail.
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
Litigation. I think we all want to avoid that.
But I share your frustration.
Okay.
I want you to know that.
If I could, I would just like to hear Jay's opinion briefly on it before we go to the other board members.
Well, I'm not sure from a procedural perspective, you can kick this out as many times as you like. There's no barrier to that. If there are other options to consider by the board, I could give you that. I haven't evaluated the status of the litigation,
Okay.
nor have I evaluated kind of what they could do in terms of just running out the clock, because they've given them the notice about a year ago today, I think.
Right.
So you have the right and the option to continue. Obviously, we don't like to end up in a forum like the Housing Appeals Committee on these things, but if you felt that it's gone on too long, you have the right to act accordingly.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I'm certain there's some frustration at the, and Mr. Panos is saying he's frustrated as well. However, I'm honestly, I'm a little bit hesitant, given the fact that we don't have a full board here. I'm not sure I want to get into some options that might result in going to housing court. I think we'd like to avoid that as well. But I do want to give Doris and Doug the opportunity to just chime in. So Doris, can you want to chime in?
Sure, David, thank you. It seems unfair.
What's
That's my
that? To keep
Well, to
continuing?
extend it, it seems unfair, seems wrong. That's my opinion.
Doug?
Yeah, I think we're at a disadvantage because Mike's not here tonight. We don't have a full board. It feels like a really long extension. Which obviously in some ways benefits us, right? You know,
Well, but there is a potential alternative too. So you have a few options, right? So this is Jay again, David.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You
Feel free to
could
chime in.
you could continue. They've requested an extension, a continuation through December. You could continue to like a month from now to that August meeting, at which time, if assuming Mike will be around, you could have a more fulsome discussion on the status of this matter amongst kind of the full complement of the board members that would be acting on it. That way you could kind of chew on it a little bit. Or again, you could kick all the way to December if you liked as well.
No, you're reading my mind a little bit. I mean, I'd almost potentially prefer a shorter extension till we have the full board. And then we can more fully discuss it. I am remote in 30, but I would be available. But it just seems like a very long extension without Mike here. And again, I think the board will want to talk about other options, I think at this point too, or just understand what our options are. But I
Yeah.
don't want us to get into that too deeply without Mike here either.
Correct.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I mean, we could extend out 3 months as we've been doing, and at least that allows an extension through the close of discovery. Which would take us out to the end of October. Maybe we'll be able to glean some more movement or direction on where this is going. Who knows, to your point, the discovery may spur discussions among the parties to settle and dispose of the matter. Who knows? I can't read those tea leaves. But that's a third option, I would posit. That maybe it's not December 4th, maybe it's November 4th, maybe it's, you know, sometime after that discovery, after that report to the court is due.
So the discovery, you're based on all the information you had before. I don't want to go through all of it.
Yeah.
You would expect discovery and hopefully what you're positing might be some actions that would put you into mid-October, you think?
Discovery deadline is October 18th.
Okay,
And the report to the court is due about 10 days later on October 25th.
okay. Doug?
Yeah, I'm definitely more comfortable with it being to October than December. I mean, it could even be shorter than that, but
Yeah,
I mean, but definitely want to feel like Mike should be here. So I'm not longer than that. I could even be shorter than that, but curious of other board members.
go ahead, Doris.
I really value Mike Robbins' input. I prefer shorter, heavily prefer shorter
Yeah.
August, because looks like we'll all be in attendance, and I appreciate Attorney Tollerman's suggestion on it, shorter versus longer. But you know, my experience and my concern here is we don't have a full board. Litigation never wraps quickly, just doesn't.
Right.
Period. I mean, I don't need to read a PACER document probably.
Right.
It's just the nature of it. I'm not criticizing either attorney. I'm just saying it never does. So I'm August tops. Positioned would be a good way to put it.
So Doug, I agree with you that December 4th does seem like a long ways to kick it out. And I know it's not just us that are a little bit anxious about it. I guess I'm inclined more towards October. We could certainly have a discussion in August, but you know, right now we just agreed to a hearing in August where we've got three items on the agenda, and I think at least one of them, possibly two of them, might take a bit of time. So that's where I'm leaning. Does that time frame work for you, Doug?
I mean, I could also say we could split the difference and make it September. I mean, there is a risk that, again, I'm virtual in August, so there is a slight risk that I could be stuck on a plane.
Yeah.
So wouldn't want that to happen. So we're right back to the same spot. But I mean, maybe to split hairs here, but maybe September meeting. I don't know what we have in September. But-
September, I'm virtual.
Oh,
Good chance I could be stuck in an airplane. Unlikely though, but possible. Okay.
so I guess a bit of September, October are probably fine for me. I'm just trying to be mindful of their comments. So
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay to go to me no and two yeses. I mean, that still gets you to your date. I just want to go on the record. I'm August.
Yeah.
Okay. I know how you feel, Dave. It's like, I know you want consensus, but
Well, I mean, I
I know
think
you.
I understand this topic within the town. I agree with you regarding Mike. I really want him to be there. That's why we're not really, hashing this out too much tonight. But I am going to kind of lean heavily on, I really think it ought to be an October date, so that we do have, and honestly, that might put a little bit more weight on Mr. Panos, that we have something to talk about at that meeting. But that's where I'm leaning, is I think we ought to try to do an extension.
I
what
respect
do we
you,
have?
I respect you deeply, David. We'll split the baby if that's what you're asking me to do, and
Unfortunately, I am, yeah.
yeah, no, it is what it is, and if I think we could get the decision in August, and because Mike has the intelligence to get the board to the decision too. But if you're gonna split the baby, I'm not gonna go down to the mat, I guess. You would still win, I think you still win if I'm a no. Can someone correct me if I'm a no? It's 2/3, it's just simple majority, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just a couple notes that
Procedural.
might influence your timeline. You don't have to stick to our regularly scheduled meeting time. I know you guys don't want to have more meetings than necessary, but if you don't want to cram it into a meeting that already has 3 things on the agenda, you're welcome to pick another date and I can get that scheduled, no problem. Also, David, if you are allowing public comment, I just want to make you aware that I have somebody who would like to comment as well.
Yeah, I figured that somebody would, yes.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
and just more of a practical comment, that if you were so inclined to push to October, because discovery in this matter has been so contentious, and you can glean that just by reading quickly through the docket. I don't have to tell you that. I would ask that that the continued hearing date go to October 23rd, which is the Wednesday following the conclusion of the discovery deadline. So that way it's done, and I think we can get a really good idea, at the very least, of what people are saying, what the depositions are saying, what the interrogatories, what the discovery revealed. And I think that'll better allow all parties to kind of evaluate where the matter's at. And I don't want to say who has the stronger position, who has the weaker position, but I think it's going to help illuminate the matter, if you will, once that discovery is complete and done.
Okay.
And I think we'll be able to come to that October 23rd meeting with that backup, with knowledge. Just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have somebody who wants to speak, citizen, butter, whatever. Is that on Zoom, Laura, or in the?
No, it's in person, sir.
Okay,
Grant Whitney, 23 Blackthorn Drive, one of the quote unquote certain defendants, Mr. Panos. I've been concerned now on several of these hearings that the board seems to want to take Mr. Panos's word as fact. Mr. Panos has not, to the best of my knowledge, filed an appearance in the litigation. He has not attended any of the hearings in that litigation. And if this were a court of law, everything he utters is hearsay because he doesn't have firsthand information. I think his comment, Brother Panos, if I may use that term loosely, reflects the fact, oh yeah, you can shake your head, sir, that's fine. I think you've been disingenuous in describing the nature of the discovery disputes. And why we will not get into detail, I will say this, I have firsthand knowledge, as does my wife, who is also here tonight. We had no choice but to file for a protective order because, and I quote from the memorandum in support of our motion, for the continuation of inappropriate, harassing, and unnecessary deposition questions by plaintiffs. And I would encourage the board to take a look at it. I would encourage actually the members of the public, since it is public record, to look at the quality of the depositions. I might add, even as he says, and he is accurate, that discovery has been continued to the middle of October, and that a final status conference is indeed on November 8th. He conveniently, it seems to me, glossed over the fact that, quote unquote, from Judge Rubin's decision, plaintiff shall not ask questions of or make inquiry regarding any defendant's selection of counsel or the payment of attorney's fees with the court, with the court to accept a motion to reopen discovery should any party prevail on claiming for attorney's fees. And importantly, plaintiff's questioning to proceed with limitation, courtesy, and precision in connection with any individual defendant's knowledge of other individual defendants' admissions or statements regarding the meaning or the intent of the 2015 agreement. I am concerned that this board in the past has taken his word as gospel as one of these certain defendants. And I might note, if you look at your notice, Mr. Panos, from July 16th, you didn't even have the professional courtesy to notice our attorney. But you did your brother, Amato Pacino. Thank you very much.
I just want to say briefly, I want to be very careful about not getting into the litigation. That's not what this board is about. I understand we may need information relative to it, but I would just caution everybody, please do not begin relitigating that case for the board. It's not, I think we just have to be careful here. Go ahead.
Hi, Howard Rose, 2 Bantry Road. I've been here a few times on this subject. Mr. Williams, I'd like you to reconsider your timeline. If I'm not mistaken, this was supposed to be in front of this board 2 weeks ago. And due to one of the parties' unavailability, you pushed it 2 weeks to now to have this discussion. And now, unfortunately, we can't have the discussion because of another scheduling. I would propose this pushes another 2 weeks, not waits 3 months, 6 months. How many hours have we stayed here going back and forth in this? How many times have our neighbors been drunk through the river and been paying for this? Remember, this applicant has another path forward on this. They could be in the ground already if they just followed the agreement they made years ago. Instead, they've chosen to go through litigation. The litigation is dragging out farther than the timeline held up in that agreement. So all they're doing is dragging people through the mud at significant cost. And this board continues to allow that to happen. And all it does is give them an advantage of keeping them in line for 40Bs when there's others in line. The pressure is on them at this point to do it. I encourage you to please stop dragging this out. 2 weeks is actually the appropriate time. Which is, I think, is what you can do as far as notice. And that's when you should be doing this, not dragging this out another 3 months, 6 months, whatever. I believe Doris is the compromise at August, but seriously, 2 weeks should be the maximum. We should be talking about this as you did 2 weeks ago after the discussion this board had after they asked everyone to leave the room. There was significant discussion. It should be in public. It should be discussed, and we should resolve this now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Elizabeth Whitney at 23 Blackthorn Drive. So I just typed a few notes into my phone as Mr. Panos was speaking. And it's a bit challenging for me to comment on his presentation because of the extraordinary number of inaccuracies in that statement. I do want to comment about the terms that were used. We heard discovery dispute, and it was after several depositions that our lawyers contacted us to suggest that that they submit a motion for a protective order. So it's not a discovery dispute. It was a specific motion for a protective order that was submitted to Judge Rubin. We had a meeting and she agreed with many elements. She read through the depositions and agreed. We have been bullied in this process. We signed an agreement, a 2015 agreement, in good faith. And this litigation is present now because we were sued after signing an agreement in good faith. And this is specifically related to a contract issue. This is not related to, I think the words that were stated by Mr. Panos was something like about the detriment of the project, and the judge doesn't see issues of the detriment of the project. This is about a contract issue in the 2015 agreement that citizens of this town are being sued by another citizen of this town is totally unethical. Evidently, it's legal, but it is totally unethical what is going on. So the other point that I want to make over the October 18th date, that is true, that October 18th is the date for discovery. Judge Rubin mentioned in that meeting to us that this could drag on for years. And I remember it because it was like a dagger in my heart. So drag on for years. This will not be over in October. It will not be over in November. It will not be over in December. And I urge all of you to protect essentially the citizens that are being dragged into this lawsuit. And we've been in it for almost 1.5 years now, and it's going to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Marnie Houlihan. I'm here at the planning board, but I'm representing as a private citizen. So I encourage the zoning board. I support Doris's, Ms. Cahill's support for a quicker hearing. I think you should really, I think we've heard from citizens. I think it's really important for you to do this sooner and not continue this. I think there are things in line, people in line for other alternatives. I have a second comment, and this is to address specifically to Councilman Tellerman. It's more of a point of order. So I would like to just say on the special town meeting floor on May 22nd, 2018, I created Article 1, which is a quorum of this board, your zoning board. And it's 174-25 Board of Appeals B. The board will hold public hearings on all applications submitted to it. A quorum shall consist of 4 members or their alternates. No member shall appear or represent any person in any matter pending before the board. No member shall hear or decide an appeal in which he or she is directly or indirectly interested in a personal or financial sense. There is no separation between administrative and public hearing. Thank you.
Right, there's nobody else, right, Laura?
I have one on Zoom. I have Mr. Michaelis on Zoom.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Wendy DeMichaelis, 15 Bantry Road, also a defendant in the case. I just wanted to go back to the question that was asked by the chairman earlier on, the suggestion of the board. And it was also the suggestion of the judge in the case that the parties should get together and, maybe propose alternate solutions, and that has not happened. So neither me, my husband, or our attorney was approached on any alternate plans or negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
That's all I have for right now.
Okay. So let's talk about dates then.
So David, I can jump in here just for
Yeah.
a bit. So a couple things. I mean, I think we all, so first of all, I think we're all trying to get first to a discussion where Mike can be here, right? I think that's the first
Right.
goal. I
Right.
definitely don't think we're taking anything for gospel, just to be clear, from the attorney. So I definitely, I'm probably more close to the Doris than at this point. I'm trying to do something sooner. We have a lot on the 21st though.
Right.
So, and also I am remote and I prefer that we're all in person for this. I might suggest the 28th of August.
I
as an
won't be
alternate.
available.
Oh. Okay.
I have a lot of availability on. maybe
Oh,
not.
what about the next week, the first week of September?
September 4th. I
Yeah.
know Mike's, I mean, yeah, I could do the 4th
I can do the 4th in person.
in person and we can extend, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, sorry, Laura, we don't, as far as we know, Mike has no conflicts then, right?
As far as I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't mind. I know we have a lot on the 21st. That would make us a long meeting and then we don't have to chase everyone down for another meeting date. I could go long. I know we don't like to go long, but I'm willing to go long. So we don't have to do this. I heard a lot of feedback about the schedule shuffle. I mean, I don't know how other members feel about that.
well, yeah, I think there's, I think even without having plans to go through, I think, I think we need some time for this meeting. So I'm really hesitant to put it on the 21st. So that's why I'm more in
Okay.
favor of the 4th or even the 11th. But, I mean, I hear the neighbors' concerns, and I know, I knew they were going to bring it up, and, they're not wrong. So I think they're probably right that we owe everybody, that discussion sooner. It's certainly before December. And if we can do it in
I
September.
could go backwards.
let's do it.
I go the 14th.
14th of August?
No, August, right. They said, someone suggested 2 weeks. One of the gentlemen suggested 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks from tonight.
I don't know how quickly.
Well, we're just picking up where we left off and whether.
I'm
Attorney Panos
unavailable
can
on the 14th. I
Of course,
apologize.
right, yeah.
Yeah, the 14th feels like it's.
Just tried, Dave.
I'm not available, not,
Okay, no, just trying. I'm not,
Available on the
If
4th of September.
I am.
All right.
I'm good for the 4th of
we-
September.
We do want Jay there for certain.
And we want to win. That's okay.
All right.
Try to make everybody happy. That's a little hard.
Well, sooner is better. So, I mean, but I think it seems like we'll all be here on the 4th and in
Yeah,
person.
definitely.
So,
Any
But we don't know
any
Mike.
problem? Any problem in terms of attendance on the 4th, Mr. Panis?
No, I'm available on the 4th. I'm not available on the 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, with conflicting hearings.
Okay. I'm going to suggest we shoot for I'm sorry, September 4th to continue the hearing. In terms of where we can hold it, any concerns there, Laura?
No, I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right, I feel like we have a pretty clear motion here then to continue.
I can make a motion to continue the hearing to September 4th at 7 PM.
I'll second that.
All right, motion has been made to extend to September 4th at 7 PM and seconded. All in favor, respond with aye, opposed nay. Doris?
Yeah, that's right. Good.
Aye.
Doug?
David, can I provide any commentary before I vote on this?
You may.
So I just would definitely, from what I've heard from the neighbors and everyone else, I would definitely encourage the applicant to engage in discussions. I think that's important. So I would just simply put that out there from my perspective. But I'm an aye.
Okay, and Williams is aye as well.
I said aye.
Yes.
You went
Yep.
first.
I just have a quick question. Have we confirmed that Mr. Robbins is going to be available on the 4th?
To the best of our knowledge, he should be available, yes.
Okay.
I will try to confirm that immediately, though.
Once he wakes up.
Yeah, he's not available right
Yeah.
now to confirm, so. Okay,
Okay.
all right,
I appreciate that, David.
all right. All right, thank you. Okay, well, we've approved moving the meeting to September 4th. That's the last item on the agenda. I believe we're set now, and unless Laura corrects me again, because I make a bunch of mistakes here.
Nope, it was just a motion to continue to September 4th at 7 PM and that was it.
Okay. All right. In that case, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting, zoning
So-
board of appeals.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doris?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. All right, that closes the meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.